Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to the first video of 2022, which is actually going to be album pickups for 2021. So this is album pickups for December 2021. Now I say album pickups, but, well, it's kind of an album pickup. You see, there is one album in here, and the other ones they're audio on a CD, but they're not exactly albums. You'll see what I mean in a second. But firstly, we're going to go with the proper album, and this one I got early on in December. And this is the debut album from KK's Priest, and this is Sermons of the Sinner. Now, if you're unaware, KK Priest is the former guitarist of the heavy metal band Judas Priest, and this was an album that he formed with him and with Tim the Ripper Owens, who is also a former singer of Judas Priest. And he had two albums, they were Jugulator and Demolition, and I really, really like those two albums. I know a lot of people dislike Demolition, but I think it's a good album. I think it's pretty good. And so I was really excited to hear the fact that these two would be getting back together to do an album, because I love Tim Owens' stuff, and obviously I want to hear like a Judas Priesty kind of album. I'll show off the album a little bit here, so it's like there's the sort of the middle fold and everything. It actually came out a couple of months ago, but it took me until December until I actually got my own copy of it. It's good. It's just kind of, for me, it feels a little bit by the numbers metal, and there's nothing bad to it, but something feels like it's just missing a little bit. And it's difficult to not compare it to Judas Priest, which I'm going to compare it obviously to the most latest album by Judas Priest themselves, which is Firepower, I believe, and I really like that album. This album, it's good, but like I said, it's just not 100% there. It's still worth picking up though, especially if you like, old school heavy metal and like Judas Priest and Tim Owens or KK Downing, and you want to hear this latest album by him. Now, some might say it's a little bit unfair to compare it to the Judas Priest album that came out a couple of years ago, but I think the name, I don't overly get on with this name. KK's Priest, like I know obviously he's a founding member of Judas Priest, he's been like almost all their albums, but to call it that kind of makes it sound, and it's not because this is all original music, but it kind of makes it sound like they're a tribute band featuring an original member. And I know that's not what it is, but I can't help but feel like, for the fact that he's called it that, kind of makes it feel that way. I remember there were rumours going around that it was going to be called something like KK's Steel Mill, I think, which I think is the name of the music venue he runs. And that would have been a cool name, but KK's Priest, good album, worth listening to if you like heavy metal, but just, I don't know why I was expecting a little bit more. I feel like I'm being maybe a bit too overly harsh on the album. It's actually quite good, it is a good album. And then the other two things I actually got as Christmas presents from my parents, thanks Mum and Dad. And these aren't albums of collections of music, but rather these are audiobooks. As I've had for ages a long list of books I'd love to read. And I've never been much of a great reader, as in obviously I can read, but to have the discipline to sit down with a novel, I always find myself doing other things. And I realised that when I'm going around working, I tend to drive between lots of different places constantly, like all the time. So I'm always listening to things like music and podcasts. And one day I thought to myself, well, why don't I just listen to a book? And that started me on a lovely little journey I've been having through the world of literature. And I've really enjoyed books like Bram Stoker's Dracula and George Orwell's 1984. And Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. But one series of films I've always absolutely adored and been curious about the books for are the James Bond books. And so my parents got me a copy of Casino Royale, the first book in the James Bond series, and Live and Let Die, the second book, which is currently the one I'm on at the moment. As I've worked my way through this one, they're fairly short when compared to things like Dracula. God, Dracula is very, very long. They're very short compared to things like that, but they're intriguing little novels. Really, really good little spy novels. In fact, there's been certain points of tension in these books that I haven't felt since I read, or listened to rather, 1984. It's not to the same, catastrophically devastating level as 1984, that's quite a depressing novel. But there's certain levels of tension, obviously Bond being a spy, he cannot be caught, he cannot be killed, you can't let that happen to you, so he's obviously going to be in a very, very tense situation. Casino Royale I finished about a day or two ago, and for the most part I preferred the film adaptation. It's a very, very faithful adaptation, but I've got to say the end, the tragic ending, I think was done better in this. It was really, really sad. I even shed a tear over how sad it was, and so now I'm on to Live and Let Die, which I'll be listening to, well, until I finish it, and probably I'll be going on to the others after that. And so that was last month, December's album haul, if you can even count it as an album haul, of 3 albums there. But that's all for now. There'll be plenty more music content coming out on my channel later this year, and if you enjoyed, please consider liking, sharing and subscribing, and I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.